We are live, another episode of the OCC podcast. I'm your host, David Jansen, and today joining me is none other than the host of Arm Talk, Jody Williams. How's it doing? How are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Just got done with the show actually. So once I got done with that, I jumped in the shower real quick and got dressed and went ahead and said, "Let's go ahead and do your show now." So I'm excited. Thanks for having me on.
No, that's great. I'm so thankful that you took the time to jump on. It's a pleasure having you on. I'm a huge fan of watching the Arm Talk and also the Can-Am podcast that you have with Ryan Espy.
Yeah.
Give me a give me a bit of background to who Jody Williams is. A lot of people know Jody Williams as the left-hand specialist in arm wrestling. Who is the
Okay.
man behind the arm wrestler?
You're talking to a guy who will be 50 years old in 6 months. So there's that. Um, been married for almost. This is what next month will be 24 years. Yeah, 24 years. Got a great family here in Bend, Oregon. Um, I was actually before I got into arm wrestling, I was a basketball and football junkie. So I did that, in high school, middle school sports, and then actually when I got out of high school, I wanted to play college football. It didn't work out, so I ended up playing semi-pro. And after that, once you get to a certain point, your body can't take all those hits from football. You still got to go to work on Monday morning. So I had to say, yeah, my body, my brain said, let's do it. My body was like, nah, we're not doing it no more. So by me being an active person, I always wanted to do more. So I fell into arm wrestling late December of 2010, and I've been going ever since.
Well, that's amazing. So, what do you do for work, and what are your outside life out of arm wrestling?
I work at the juvenile detention center, so it's basically you could say a jail for youth. So I'm doing that. I prefer that because at least with the youth, they have there's always that chance that they kind of you know turn their lives around. Whereas with the adults, they're pretty much stuck in their ways. They are who they are. You can't change them. Very few can. So I decided to pick that path, and I'm loving every minute of it. Also, this past weekend, we had our. Some of you guys don't know we have a LOD foundation. We do, and basically that was for our youngest, who's no longer with us. He had an ATV accident, and so now what we next happened July 4th of 2020, which in a sense is well, we'll never see that holiday as it is anymore going forward, but there's some good things that came out of that. So we donated his organs. He was only 14. So we donated his organs for one. And two, we create this foundation. So we have board members and everything. And every time we have a foundation, we get together on a, Zoom call and says, hey, we got a fundraiser coming up. What do you guys think about this, that, and then some? So we just did one over the weekend. It was a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. And we had all our board members, almost all our board members there, kind of stuff. So we do a lot. And basically what that is that we were those parents where when Donovan, that's our son, when he did all the travel basketball and stuff, sometimes as parents, my wife and I, we sacrificed maybe paying this bill to make sure he was able to play that weekend. Because sometimes those travel tournaments, they can be pretty spendy depending on what sport it is. So long story short, we give back to the community, and we reached to Portland, even the state of Washington, um, even Idaho, I think, and we give back to the youth. So if a parent has a talented kid in the gymnastics or lacrosse or baseball, basketball, football, whatever, and they can't afford equipment, then they kind of hit us up and says, "Hey, you know what? We need help with this. Cool. Tell us more about yourself, and then we'll see what we can do for you." And instead of, because you got to be careful, because sometimes you'll have parents says, "Hey, yeah, I need money for this," and we don't directly give them the money. Like if it's through Parks and Rec, we give it to Parks and Rec, and then we put the child's name on it. So that way it goes to it pays for that, fee or whatever. Because there are some people out there. We got duped once before when we first started that, so we kind of learned our lessons. So there's that. But we like doing that kind of stuff. We done fundraisers as far as like Super Bowl squares in February. We do a March Madness tournament brackets there. The bigger one is the arm wrestle tournament we do in June in Redmond, Oregon, and then we just had a 3-on-3. And then we got one more coming up later in the fall. So we're gonna have a meeting about that. But that's what we do, and we appreciate that. And I can't tell you all the love we've gotten for everybody about what we do, and it's just giving back. We want to do that kind of stuff. So
No, that's incredible. And I think anyone that understands that and anyone that has the capacity to give back in the way that you and through the organization LLD, I believe that is that you have
mhm.
that that's amazing. Now,
Yeah.
going back to you speaking about working in the juvenile detention center, give us a
Yeah.
bit of context as to how that has impacted your life. Obviously, maybe there's a lot of stuff that you can't share, but what have you learned over the years of working there that has really impacted you?
I would say that when you're dealing with youth, times have changed. It's not what the way parents raise their kids now is not what it was when I was a kid. And so normally in that teenage adolescent years, kids are trying to find themselves. Like they want to be a part of something, Problem is that there's so much, negativity out there. They figure, well, if I'm welcome with open arms, then I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So they do things like that. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy it and stuff. So I love it. Sometimes I wish these parents would wake up. You have a very awesome son or daughter, and the fact that you're not paying attention to them and they're looking for attention in other places, and that's what gets them in trouble. So they come to our facility. It's like, look, man, what's going on with you? Why are you doing this? You could do better. You try to do that, but then you got some that just they won't get it because they got that their frame of mind is such. So you know.
What strengths that you have gotten from your years in other sports have really transferred into what you do in the sport of arm wrestling now?
I would say being competitive for one, but being a good teammate, just communicating, saying, "Hey, if I'm doing something you see that's wrong, help me fix it, so that way I don't make the same mistake out there." I mean, that's in life too, right? Same thing with training. I like, I'm a talker, so I'm a talker. So I like to do that. I like to help people out. I've had people come to me for advice on arm wrestling, and I give them the knowledge I got, but I also warn them that hey, I'll give you some advice. I got no problem with that, but it may work for you, it may not work for you. So just kind of take that going forward. So I always kind of tell them that.
Oh, that's incredible. So you said what month was it of 2010 that you started arm wrestling?
December,
December of 2010.
yeah,
Give us a little bit of a background at what came to a head that month and that time that pushed you into arm wrestling. Had you seen it before? Obviously, we've seen, most of us have seen Over the Top and films
yeah.
like that, maybe Pulling John. But what brought you into such a niche sport as arm wrestling? There's many times we see it. We've been to bars. We arm wrestled growing up as kids on the table, holding each other's elbows and arm
Yeah.
wrestling. But what we do nowadays in the whole professional side of arm wrestling is so much different than that. And how did you get into that?
Well, it's funny. I mean, yeah, we've all arm wrestled our friends, whatever, at the coffee table, whatever. I never did it in school, but as a young adult, my brother-in-law, we all and his friends, we all kind of just arm wrestle. Oh, if you lose, you got to buy me a beer, something of that nature. But I never thought it would be, serious to where it'd be an actual sport. And I remember I was working at a solar plant at the time, and my buddy was like saying, "Hey, you ever think about arm wrestling?" Because his father-in-law was an arm wrestler out of California and knew Alan Fisher, right? So the first person I laid my eyes on, as far as the sport of arm wrestling, was Alan Fisher. He sent me this video, and I ran that thing like every single day at work, on my lunch break, on my actual 15-minute break, just to see what this is about. Because coming up in that December was a Toys for Tots, and that event was held at the Harley Davidson dealership. So you could bring toys for the youth or canned goods for the homeless or whatnot, which is cool. The arm wrestle tournament took place in the back area. But prior to that, I'm thinking, all right, if I'm watching this video of Alan Fisher, and I think it was the 2007 Arnold Classic, if I'm not believing, but it was highlights of that. And I'm watching over and over. I'm thinking, this is a legit sport. I'm like, okay, but nobody had a table. So check this out. So my friend had like a dresser, a big tall dresser that you put clothes and stuff in there in his garage. So we're like arm wrestling on that. So there was no peg. So we put our hands on the top portion of the dresser, but use our offhand to kind of hold the dresser in place so it wouldn't like tip over and stuff. So we're doing that. And I'm thinking, how can we get like to a table? Oh, you'll get to a table when you get to the tournament. I'm like, all right. So now, fast forward, it's December 10th, right? And I go over there, and I'm like going, my word. I'm like, dude, this is weird to me because now the table's wider. There's these pin pads and elbow pads. And I had to get used to the rules, like the elbow fouling and things like that. I had to get real acquainted with the rules. That tournament was just, it was like a fun thing. It was only two weight classes. It was 0 to 198. 199 and over. And I'm thinking, all right, I was around 205 at the time, maybe. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here. God forbid I go against somebody who's about 250, right? So I decided I'm going to go ahead and cut the weight to make 198. And I did. Only problem is I ended up pulling some of my coworkers. So it's kind of like it was bragging rights, but I wanted to pull somebody different. I didn't know. Long story short, won first place. It was cool. There was a guy there named Darren Wartina. He just passed away recently. He's the one that kind of got us, all of us here in Oregon, Bend, Oregon, into the sport. And he said, because he was a pro, and said before I knew about it, he was like a $165, right? I'm not, 198. I'm thinking, oh, I got this dude, There's no way he's stronger than me. And he was just beating everybody. But the thing was that, hey, $10, right? To pull me, if you pin me, you get 100 back. So I'm thinking, all right, I'm not a gambling man, but I like the odds. I'll try it. Did I pin him? No, I didn't pin him. So I'm thinking, okay, is he wearing some kind of bracelet where it like balances him? There's got to be some kind of trick, But it wasn't. And after it was all said and done, it's like, all right, cool. It was fun. And he came to me. He goes, hey, so question. He goes, out of all the guys, you seem pretty strong and into it. If you're really interested, then here's my number. Get a hold of me. I said, okay, I'll do that. But I waited till like Christmas was done, New Year's was done. And then I finally got a hold of him and says, hey, this is the dude from the tournament, man. I'm interested. He goes, cool. He goes, let's set up a time. Come to my place. I think it was like a Wednesday or whatever. Went to his house and he kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, this is a real thing. So he had a table and everything. And the first thing he taught me is how not to arm wrestle. Like, you don't want to sit there and just, like an amateur and close your eyes and you want to pull hard. You look down like that. That's what a lot of amateurs do. And he told us how not to do that, That way we don't get into a broken arm. I've never had one, knock on wood. So, yeah, I kind of learned from that. And after that, it was off to the races,
Well, that's incredible. And then after that, how long did it take before you began winning tournaments and stuff?
Let's see here. My first sanctioned tournament was March 2011. That was the Oregon State Championships. That was under the USAA brand. And I pulled the novice class. I took third left hand. Didn't win my first one until April that year, the next month at the US Open on the coast. And I took first place left hand amateur and second place right hand amateur. And it got to a point where, like, I went to a few more tournaments, and the guy, Darren, that taught us, we followed his lead. I'm going to this tournament. I'll roll with you. Let's go. So, in a group setting, we're all, driving, splitting the gas 3-4 different ways, splitting the hotel 3-4 different ways. I mean, if there's 2 beds in the hotel, 2 of us got like sleeping bags and sleep on the floor. I mean, we're trying to save as much money as possible, right? So, and we were doing that, but once it got to a point where I was taking first or second, it was time for me to kind of put my big boy pants on and start, really challenging myself. And he kind of encouraged me. So I remember July 2011, that was the decision. And it was a tournament in Portland, Oregon. And it was going to be my last tournament, amateur, and first tournament open. I took 3 first place. So I took first place left and right, amateur, and first place right, open. And then, like, I think I went 2 and out for some reason, left hand. So, yeah, after that, never looked back. It was all open. And, of course, as you get older, then you kind of venture into masters and all that kind of stuff.
What do you believe is such an advantage with age almost? Like, as you're saying, you're almost 50. We see a lot of the top guys in some of the greatest organizations currently, and they're all over 40 and 50. When we look across other sports, some of the most elite athletes, they're in their mid 20s, late teens, some of them even maybe up till mid 30s, and then they start to venture off into other things. What is it in arm wrestling that is, we see Devin Larratt, Todd Hutchings, Michael Todd, a lot of these elderly gentlemen, they're all 50s, late 50s. You're coming up to 50. What is it that at that age you can still continue to be at the top?
I think it's the satisfaction because it's the one-on-one sport, right? So look at the one-on-one sports. You can't do UFC forever. You can't do boxing forever. You can only go so far in like amateur Greco-Roman wrestling. You can only go so far, then your body takes a toll. Where arm wrestling, yeah, there's going to be injuries because every sport has injuries, right? But when you got that one-on-one sport, even tennis, I mean, I don't know how many people are like in their mid 40s and 50s still at the top of their game playing tennis. I don't know. But with arm wrestling, it's addictive. And, even then, once you get to that certain age, you still learn a lot. So even though I'm going to start year number 16 this coming December, doesn't mean I know everything, but I know a lot. But I'm always open to learn more. I've never thought that while I've been in sport this long, I know everything. I've never said that, nor will I ever do that. But never judge anybody that that's been in sport long enough to know, hey, I've been around the block. I kind of know what's going on too. So, or old man strength is that's the real thing. Um, it's just knowing how to use the strength, and I kind of rely on that.
Well, that's incredible. And knowing technique, I believe a lot of people out there, they think so much of it has to do with going sideways and stuff. Give us your thoughts on how you have refined your technique, because there is multiple techniques in arm wrestling and there's different lanes you can use to shut down other people's technique. How did you come? Obviously, you were sharing about the man that recently passed that really
Yeah.
guided you for a certain amount of years, but how did you find what is the best way for you to move on the table?
Well, here's it. Before I go any further, a lot of people got to realize, and this is one of those things you realize as you get older and stuff, if you've been around the sport. When I was taught, it was top row beats anything. I'm like, cool, let's learn the top row and let's go ahead and let's learn the pronation thing. Let's get after it. Problem was when I got to a tournament and somebody decided to grip me a little lower and knife down on me, then that top row didn't do anything for me. And then I felt like I got lied to. I was like, bro, you lied to me. You said a top row beats anything. This guy went into the side. I couldn't do anything. So that kind of opened my eyes to where there's more than one style. So that's when I took it upon myself to go, okay, you know what? No offense against you, but I want to dive deeper into this. And then it's the press moves, top row, hook, and then those are your three basic moves, and then every other move branches off of those three. Because with the press shoulder roll, then you got the flop, that kind of thing. With the top roll, you got the king's move, open hand top roll. With the hook, there's a low hook, high hook. So there's all different kind of ones. Now, depending on who you are, training side pressure. Not everybody can be Todzilla, and have this immense, side pressure. Now, I do want to emphasis. Hold on, my freaking thing is going off. Sorry about that, y'all. I do want to emphasize this though. To pin somebody, some way, somehow, you got to go sideways. So I kind of, oops, sorry. I look at it like that. Some way, somehow, you got to go sideways if you want to pin somebody. You can't pin nobody always going back. So at some point, you got to go this way. So I do train a little bit of side pressure, but it's not with the weights like I used to because it would hurt. So now I do something more forgiving by using bands. And I just kind of wrap those things around the table leg and then around the peg. And I'll have two bands wrapped around those. I'll have one around my wrist, run around the webbing of my hand, and I'll just sit there. I'll just go ahead and go sideways. And then when I go sideways, the minute it does that, that's when I know, okay, I'm weak in that area. I got to strengthen that. So, and that's what I kind of do, things like that. And if the band is too light, if you add one or you get a thicker, wider one. So I've done that kind of stuff. My style was more like I was always quick twitch muscle, like, so on the go, you go. So it's like drag racing, right? And that thing is, uh, how is it? It goes red, yellow, 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 green. So it's kind of like for me, when the ref says go, go. Either you pin or get pinned. That was my thought going in there. So it's not that I'm giving out secrets, but everybody knows who knows me knows that I'm known for the quick hit. But at the same time, we live in this world where everyone who is somebody in the sport, there's going to be some kind of video about you some way, some around floating around Instagram, uh, YouTube or whatever. So there are times when I go against opponents and they kind of know what I'm doing. They set up for that quick hit and they like to brace themselves so they can catch it or absorb the hit I got. So even I had to go, okay, I can't do this forever because if they're catching my hit, then I got to revert to something else too. So this game is always revolving.
When in the sport did you begin to do social media promoting the sport? Obviously, you have your own YouTube channel where you do the arm talk, and then you have a plethora of athletes that you host on there and you talk with them. And then you also have an amazing show with the Can-Am show with Ryan SB, and then you have Nathan and Tim join as well sometimes, but you and Ryan are the main hosts.
Yeah.
How did all those different avenues start?
Here's the funny part. So with Arm Talk, back in the day, we're talking 2016 maybe. That was out of my garage, and that was on Facebook Live. So, because I had a lot of Facebook friends. So when I go live, everybody would tune in. They'd drop a, hey, how you doing, Jody? Or they have a question, or I'll have a guest on there, and it was easier to do. But somebody told me, it was like, hey, man, if I want to watch a certain episode, do I got to go through every single one of your posts on Facebook to actually watch the episode? And I was like, oh, damn, I think you do. So let me do what everybody else is doing and transfer all that to YouTube. So once I start getting that, I start building my page up, and I think it's good. And then when I started having my show, I'd use StreamYard, and I would do it that way. So now, if you want to look at my past guests, just go to my YouTube channel, click up the live video, and then you'll have all my guests on there that I've downloaded and stuff. So that was cool because in the early years of Arm Talk, it was okay. I got 5 or 6 questions, and I'll ask them, and then they answer them, and then that's all the questions I got. Now the show is like 30 minutes. Then now I've gotten so used to it that it's just like we're just talking. Like you and I were just kind of just sitting there, chit chat. Next thing you know, an hour goes by. It's like, oh wow. So I've gotten to that point. But now, it's so easy to do now, and I'm comfortable with that. Now with the Can Connection with Ryan Espy, that his was a different one because I was a guest on one of his shows. It was what was it called? Behind the Fire, or so I can't remember. It was something I can't remember. Crossfire. And I was with him and Chris Gobby, and I came on a guest, and they liked what I had to add, and so I became like a co-host or whatever. And then Gobby went his own way, and then Ryan and I got together. Hey, would you like to help me do a podcast show? I'm like, yeah, I'd be awesome. And so we came up with the name Can-Am Connection, obviously American Canada, Can-Am. So we started doing that. And then all of a sudden we had Nathan on as a guest, had Tim Thomas on, and we invited him back. And then slowly but surely they morphed into like, hey, you know what? Now they're co-hosts now. I'm gonna take my earbuds out because I got like 5% left. I'm gonna see if you can still hear me. Can you still hear me?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right. So anyway, so yeah, so that became a thing now. And the one thing about the Cam Connection, it was always like a Tuesday morning, and now it's kind of like in fuss because a lot of us are got busy doing stuff. So it's kind of like when we can do it. Arm Talk is different because it's like it's hard for me to get guests because my work schedule doesn't always coincide with what they got going on because I work for the county, like we talked about, and we rotate schedule shifts like every 4 months. So right now, my weekends are Sunday and Monday, but I work graveyard now, so I have to work tonight at 10 o'clock, and I'm off at 6 a.m. So it's kind of like I gotta find it to where it works for me and my host, or I'm sorry, and my guest to kind of do that. So I got some stuff coming down the pipe, but yeah, I mean, I think doing this is just good because it gets out there. We promote events. We talk about upcoming pay-per-views. We talk about predictions. We have a prediction show, and then after the pay-per-views come and gone, we'll come back on. Then we have the fallout. Hey, the backlash. What you think about this and that? Haven't done it in a while because a lot of people are busy. I know Ryan's in the midst of moving, relocating. Um, I know Nathan's busy. Tim's busy. So I kind of do what I can to kind of keep things going. So right now, until Ryan's all solidified, that's going to be on my channel as far as the Camp Connection goes. It's normally on SB's channel. So, but yeah, I try to do my best. I try to support all the other podcasts because they watch my stuff. I watch their stuff. We're like one big. We always kind of look out for each other. So.
No, it's incredible, and they're always very entertaining to watch. I think this is a perfect place to move into speaking about the last event. What were
Yeah.
some of your thoughts?
Well, here's the thing. I know the results, but I didn't get a chance to watch the event because we did our fundraiser over the weekend. So I was like, my brain was on that. So I didn't even, I was like, oh, somebody give me some results and stuff. And so when I got the results, I was kind of going, huh. But as a fan, I still want to see it. So here, I'll give you some insight. What I do. Normally when I order pay-per-view, I'll watch it a couple times. One, I'll watch it as a fan, and then the second time I'll rewatch it to watch it as like, okay, now I want to really see how they won or how they lost. Can I see something different I didn't see the first time? Like, okay, where's the elbow placement? Do I see them? Loading this way? Are they loading back? Are they rising up? I'm looking for all that kind of stuff on the second time around. So because I'm a fan, I'll do it. And I know some people don't want spoilers. Totally get that. But for me, I'm just like, tell me, because I still want to see how they won. Like, we'll give you an example. Dave Chafee Tazilla. I want to know how Dave won. People can tell me, but I want to see for myself. Or, hey, Brian Shaw won 3-1. How did he win 3-1? How did exactly did Derek Smith beat Saray? I want to see that for myself. So, once I go ahead and get through that, I want to see it as a fan.
No, I think that's incredible. From what I know, this weekend was a little bit. I couldn't watch it either myself, and then with all the technical difficulties that they had and stuff, I didn't end up buying it or anything. I'm not rich enough that I felt like I wanted to buy it a couple times or have stuff go, and I know they're definitely working with that, but I always watch it regardless of how it comes out. I try to end up watching it somehow or another, whether I buy the pay per view or wait until they post it. And definitely one of those people that tell people around me to not watch all those streams that come out, whatever they're called, the hijack streams, anyways.
Oh yeah, that's unfortunate. And you know, one thing you gotta know about me, Dave, I'm a very opinionated person, and my opinion about that is that people wonder why we, as a sport of arm wrestling, can't move forward. It's stuff like that. Like when you start hijacking events, it's like going. Then you wonder why we can't go forward because it's little stuff like that. Or, I was just telling my guest on my show before I got on yours, Sean Hancock, and with the drama stuff, if people put more energy into their training or promoting or their skills in arm wrestling at the arm wrestling table instead of the drama, then life would be a lot better. But because we are who we are, and we live in a society where you see an old lady get mugged instead of help her out, you rather get your phone and film it. Blows my mind that we live in a society like that. Now it's unfortunate, and you got all this garbage drama and stuff. I was like, for what? Did we forget why you got in the sport in the first place? Like give me a break. But it's I don't know. Hope it gets better. Hope sooner than later it gets better.
I definitely think it will get better, but at the same time, why the drama sells so well is because we have been fed the narrative of entertainment over the last 20 years. Entertainment has become something huge, and it's become something that we enjoy. I know for me, anyways, I enjoy entertainment. A lot of the drama I despise. I despise a lot of the stuff that people say in a lot of the stuff, but at the same time, it pops up. I watch a couple seconds here and there. And
Hmm.
yeah, maybe that's feeding into it by watching it. But we have been fed this entertainment is sells, and anything that's interesting to watch, or somebody puts something out that's clickbait, we watch it or stuff. And
Yeah.
so I feel like that's what feeds into it, and then it doesn't end.
Well, here I'll give you an example. Anybody that's that knows me and my podcast shows or my guests, I got a thing called soapbox edition, right? So I'll give you a sample. So because I'm a big supporter of ladies arm wrestling, right? I try to get as many guests on there because a lot of them, unless you're one of the elites, you're not really on. I think Lucky does a lot too, so I'll give her credit for that.
Yeah,
But
shout out to the Lucky Ones podcast.
yeah, see, she does a lot too. So to get as far as pushing the ladies out there. So what gets me is that you got a lot of ladies that won't pull each other because they're too busy catfighting each other. And I don't want to sit there and use profanity on your show, so I don't know what the rules are. But what blows my mind is that do you forget that why you got into the sport? Why are you going to the gym X amount of times a week and then you won't pull anybody? It blows my mind, right? Like I don't get that. I really don't. And it's like going, okay, this person doesn't want to pull that person because they're disrespecting me or they're talking bad about me. Hold the phone. Have you not seen Devin Larratt embarrass his opponent during the press conference? During the match? Now, after, hey, you're an awesome guy, that kind of stuff, that's his game. So it cracks me up when I see these ladies do the same thing and be like, well, I'm not going to pull her because she's disrespecting me and, she doesn't deserve a shot. It's like going, okay, then what are you doing there? Because right now, the people who are acting like that aren't really competing right at all right now because they got that mind frame. Blows my mind. But, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just telling you how I see things. Like, dude, knock it off. Like, just compete. Because also look at it this way. Because I'm gonna tie it into what I just said. There's always gonna be somebody you work with at work that you don't like, but you tolerate them because you got to get a job done.
Fully agree. And I think one thing that a lot of people might hate that I say this and stuff, but people need to learn that we enjoy more than just the arm wrestling. We enjoy when
Mhm.
people make it entertaining. That's why people
Right.
watch Devin Larratt. And so
Right.
people need to sometimes take a little bit out, humble themselves a little bit, and make it a little bit entertaining. Everyone else will want to watch them that much more. And a lot of times we are entertaining people, but we shut ourselves down when we're in front of cameras and stuff to a certain extent, and we don't let our true personality and our true character come out. And sometimes just be yourself.
Oh, hey, I got personality for you. Trust me. If you see me, like when I went to Arm Gods back in March, and they had the press conference, you can look it up. I was being my character self, because it was fun. And, I had a good time there. Didn't win the match, but I had a good time there nonetheless. But there's a fine line between trying to be a character and then like being disrespectful. There's that fine line. You got to sometimes people cross it. And like here, I'll give you an example. If Travis is being disrespectful, it sounds funny. If Michael Todd or Devin does the same thing, it don't sound as funny. Does that make sense?
Fully understand.
It's just it all depends on the character. Travis can say some stuff. He's just a funny guy. Devin can be funny, but it's still kind of like, eh. It sounds kind of cringe. Maybe sometimes. Michael Todd, he can be funny, but he's just not that guy. That's not his ammo. So when he says it, it's more like he wants to fight people. Like, why you want to fight people? It just comes off like I'm not saying he does. It just comes off like that. It's all personality based, right? You know, um, there's a reason why, you probably never saw Dave Chafee on Arm Wars. Personality. John Brzezinski was on Arm Wars one time. Personality. Nothing wrong with that. That's just who they are, you know? So if you're WAL, you want those characters, or if you're you could be Mac or whatever. If you want those characters, that's who you want. You want people to draw attention to the sport. So you get those characters, and you try to do what you can, but then every time we get something good going, we shoot ourselves in the foot with some stupid stuff because now it's like, nobody wants to compete, in the same league where Devin's in now. Now we got the what's the latest now? The Georgia versus the world thing they got going now. So it's kind of like, okay, now we're going to get to a point where we're split again. So now where does that leave Devin? Because before, prior to that, it was like, okay, Devin was looking so awesome that he was looking unbeatable. Now are we going to see Devin versus Vitali? And then Vitali can't come here because of visa issues or whatever the case may be. Are we going to see a third addition to Levon and Devin? I don't know, but with things being like this now, and Georgia versus the World's doing their thing, and we're kind of doing our own thing, who's Devin going to pull now?
Well, I believe that currently he's going to take a short break, but we will be seeing him at definitely at the Swiss Open or whatever that
Yeah.
event is. It's not Swiss Open, maybe it's an event they're hosting, East vs West 20 in
Yes.
Switzerland. I believe he's also going to be at Over the Top in Australia. So we're
Hmm.
definitely going to see him around, but pulling at events, I believe he's going to take a small hiatus just due to health and personal reasons.
Yeah. And sometimes you need a break in the sport. I mean, you can't run 24/7 and not have your body like be exhausted. Like, dude, I mean, it seems like he can run forever, but sometimes you need to take that break and kind of, charge your battery, so to speak, and say, look, man, I need to take a break, rest up, and see what goes on. Now, if he had a match already ready to roll, he'd still be training, but he doesn't. So maybe it is a good time for him to kind of say, hey, I'm gonna hit the reset button for a second and let you guys roll with it, and then we'll see what happens. I wouldn't mind seeing Devin versus Jerry again, but when is Jerry coming back? We don't know. I still want to see Jerry versus God. My brain's just taking a dump right now.
Camille Yablonski?
Yes, I want to see that. When is Jerry coming back? We don't know.
Yeah, who knows? That would be a pretty interesting match, that's for sure.
It's
Who's the
press
better
against press.
flopper S? Yeah, that'd be insane. Um, yeah, what are your thoughts on the upcoming Mac event?
I'm excited actually, cause one, I'll be back from vacation, so I can go actually go watch it. But I like what Ian's doing. And when you're a promoter and you want to put on these big cars and stuff, you gotta be careful you don't get too big too fast. Because I think that's where some people kind of fall on their face. I like the fact that you got Larson taking on Wayne for the super heavyweight title. I like the fact that you got Alan Ford versus Artem. I actually had all four of those guys on my show previously, last week or week before last. I had them on my show. Now Artem and Allen I had on at the same time, whereas because Philip Larson lives in Sweden and Wayne lives here in the States, I couldn't quite get them on at the same time, but I had to do separate interviews on my show with both those gentlemen. So, and they just recently had an interview with Ian today and yesterday. So, I'm excited for it. I like what he's got going on. Um, the rule set, I'm curious, and so hopefully fingers crossed down the road, I can be able to kind of jump on board and kind of say, okay, I want to see what this Mac thing is all about because all I heard is people who actually participate on that heard nothing but good things. So I'm just kind of, I'm intrigued. So
Yeah, personally, we are hosting with Team London, us as Team London, we are hosting the next Challenger Series on September 20th. And
ooh,
so
okay.
that's going to be awesome. Yeah, what are your thoughts now from the last event? Philip Larson looked very dominant against Matt Mask. Has that changed any of your thoughts on your prediction versus him versus Wayne Withers?
you know, when I talked to Wayne on my show, and he even thought, he goes, you know what? At one point, I thought I'd just show up to Colorado and just watch it with his own eyes, the match. And what Philip did to Matt was like, ooh, like, okay. Because I asked Philip myself when I interviewed him, I was like, I was concerned when you have matches that close together, right? And it's not like you're pulling some nobody. You're pulling Matt Mask. He's the wild horse for a reason. He's gonna come with so much intensity, and he's gonna hit and hit hard, and hit often. So can your body absorb all those hits? Are you gonna be okay to where okay, I now can be fresh to pull Wayne because Wayne ain't touched nobody since he won the belt against Rick Heidelberg, I think at Mac 2. So, I don't know because Philip looks like, good Lord, he looks awesome. And I'm thinking, Wayne, I hope you got your I hope Wayne has a plan B because in this sport, you and I know when you're being on the sport, you know, you cannot be a one trick pony. You can either A, be that guy where, hey, I got one move, but I'm damn good at it. Or you can be say, look, you know what? I'm a Swiss Army knife. I got all kind of stuff. You might have to do that because if you usually in the super match, normally one or two things are going to happen. One, you're going to maybe take a loss to see what they got going on. You can analyze that and go forward. Or B, you're going to go ahead and you're going to give out your ace move. Now, when you give out your ace move and it doesn't help and you get beat, you better have a backup plan. 'Cause if you don't, now what? You know? So here, um, just a quick thought. I know I'm kind of going off base here, but I look at super matches as baseball, right? So I look at that as a baseball pitcher. Let's just say you and I are going at it, right? We're on the table. If I give you my best, style, whatever, and I give you my fastball and you hit that thing out of the stadium, I better have a curveball. I better have a changeup or a slider. Because if I don't, I'm gonna see every ball I throw at you. It's gonna go over the fence every single time. 3-0, you win. Thanks for coming. Get home safe. Right? So, I look at it like that. You better have a plan B and a plan C. You have to, because now the sport has evolved to where pulling in the strap now is actual style now.
It's my favorite. That's where I
Yeah,
want to
see?
be every day.
Right. So I mean that's a style. And in Godfrey, if you pull in Mac, you better learn how to pull in the strap because once you guys slip and go to the straps, you are in the straps for the duration of the super match. The entire time. Cause y'all didn't know that. Yeah. So if you and I are in round one and we slip, guess what? Round two, round three, whatever. If it goes to the whole limit, 5 rounds, guess what? All gonna be in the strap. So
Incredible.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Give us some words where we can connect with you. Let us know what are some upcoming events that you got coming. I think I heard you're pulling versus BLM, or is that
That was the case, and then Ian and I were talking, and now we're kind of maybe not so much because I don't think Ian realized because he asked me, and I don't think I haven't talked to BLM since all that. Um, he asked me, he goes, "How much do you weigh?" I was like, I'm at 225 going to 220," and he goes, "Like, oh, I didn't realize you were that light." Because BLM's like 240 maybe, 245, give or take, or something like that in that area. I'm like, yeah, I'm about a good 20 pounds lighter than he is. So, he was like, oh, so now we gotta shift gears here, and he's got some new opponents in mind. So we are still in talks about that. Well, that's going to happen probably sometime early part of next year. Um, but as far as for me, I got my next event's going to be in Canada at the Queen and King of the North. That's the one in Manitoba that Ryan Espy's putting on. Also a 2026 Arnold qualifier. So I will be up there, and yeah, I got to support my boy. So I'm excited because it gives me an opportunity to pull internationally. Because I was already south of the border last month. Now I'm going north of the border in October. So
awesome? That's incredible. Couple last thoughts or questions. What are your
yeah,
thoughts on the Tough event? I don't know if you've heard about it. It's kind of in junction with Mac, but it's the Table Monkeys idea. It's Team Arm Wrestling Federation.
I don't think I know too much about it. Can you elaborate that? Let me know what's all about.
So currently, they're what they're going to do is they're going to start making teams. Currently, they have a Toronto team versus a Montreal team, as far as I know, that they're going to kick off the season with. Mike Gould is going to be the guy picking the team for the Toronto team, and then I forget who it is versus the Montreal team. And they're going to kind of kick it off like a baseball season or whatever, where they have multiple teams and different regions. So they're going to have like an Ontario team, Quebec team, BC, Alberta, a couple different teams like that, maybe even New York or something. I forget what all they were saying. I'm just throwing out some names. And
Oh,
then what they
nice.
want to do is do team versus team, and then it's base points based and back and forth like that. So I think your max points that you can get in a win is 7 points. That's a flash pin, or I'm not. I could be. Don't quote me. But then if you get a foul, you lose a point. If the person across from you gets a foul, you gain his point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So there's a couple different strategies like that, and then you can together as a team you can like that. It's kind of you create a roster and you move on throughout the season that way.
Well, if you lose points for getting a foul or even maybe a false start, or if your opponent does that and you get their points, then you really got to be on your A game because a quick false start, dang it, now you're negative in the hole. You better do something to get those points, recuperate those points. So, damn, I like that. That could be a shot in the arm. At least you guys are doing some things over here. We're too busy fighting each other here in the States. So it's like, I like that idea. When does that take place again?
I forget exactly when it kicks off, but I think they want to do one event either the end of this year or the beginning of next year. I don't know the exact dates, but if you want to know more about that, check out the Table Monkeys with Jason Constantini.
Hmm.
Him and Ian are together on it, but it is Jason's idea. I think it's an incredible thing coming up. I
I
think
like
it's
that.
something that could really be put on TV and entertaining. And also with play like arm wrestling in that regard, you're on a team. So if you lose, not only are you putting yourself in a bad spot, but you're putting your team in negative points, right? Or not, at least
Ooh.
not gaining the points. So you have to think of strategy of how are you going to, and there's a bunch of different weight classes. So I think there's one person, two people in each weight class. So
Hmm.
they have a supers, heavyweight, light heavyweight, and lightweight. Maybe I'm not sure if it's four or five, and then you have two of each, I think, and then the lighter guys can go up in weight, but they can't come. You can't come down. So you can step
Okay.
up a weight category, but you can't step down a weight category. And so like that, because styles make matches, right? Sometimes a lighter guy is going to be able to beat the guy one weight class above just because of the style difference, and he might be a really strong dude versus he would beat the guy that is his directly across from him in his weight class. Oh, Mike Mendy
Right.
is my teammate. He says he thinks it kicks off in October.
You know what? That there's going to be some serious strategy. Think about that for a second. So, like, if you lose a match, then that can be detrimental to not only, like you said, yourself, but your team too. So, and the fact that you have the opportunity to pull up, but you can't pull down. So, there's going to be some serious strategy. Like, it's almost to the point where whatever group you got, y'all got to communicate on a regular basis prior to the event, like months and weeks leading up to it, so we can kind of figure out, okay, here's a game plan. And like that's I've never heard that before. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then I think you have a certain allotted time that you have a break, and so they're gonna have like it's gonna be a multiple rounds, and
Hmm.
then you're gonna have a certain break where I think they can run ads and stuff, and then between each match, you have 30 seconds to get to the table. So like, say if me and you just had a match, one of us won, we left the table. The next match has to start within 30 seconds.
Gotcha.
Those people have to touch the table. If they don't touch the table within 30 seconds, they start to get points deducted.
Okay, yeah, hey, I like that
So
because
and
then it's
and so
like,
it,
hey, we're
it,
not
it
messing
forces
around.
it forces action. And so that's I really think it's going to be promotable on TV and stuff because of the entertainment level is going to be high.
I like that. So even if, like, let's just say someone gets pinned. I'm like, you go back to your corner, you got 30 seconds. Hey, man, remember, watch this, slide your elbow, do what you got to do. Watch for that. Okay, cool, I got it. Now I'm back. Or, while you're doing that, you're getting the rub down, getting the blood out of your arm and that kind of stuff. And it's constant. Oh, I like that. I like that. October, huh? Okay.
Yeah. No, definitely. If yeah, that's something everyone should go watch. The Table Monkeys. Watch what they got coming up. They got a bunch of cool ideas. I know Jason and Ian together got a bunch of cool things coming up. I'm really stoked to see the first game that they have coming up on that team arm wrestling. That's going to be awesome. Where can people reach you if they're interested in either being in contact with you, advice for arm wrestling, or just getting to see more about Jody Williams and LLD?
They can get a hold of me. I'm on Facebook, obviously, Instagram, YouTube, our foundation, www.longlivedonald.com. Go ahead and
type that up, and you'll see the whole story and what we do and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's always a good thing. So, yeah, I mean, I got my bracelet on, wear it every day. So, um, but yeah, that's what we do there. So, yeah, those are the three platforms you can see me at. Like I said, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and again, for the Long Live Donald, the LOD Foundation, www.longlivedonald.com.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for coming on, Jody. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to everyone that was watching. If you aren't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and hit the like.